In August 2017, Raymond Grigg, Mayor of the Town of Walkerville, launched a series of historical markers across the township. Together, they offer a fascinating glimpse of the people and places that shaped the history of the Town of Walkerville.
I'm Ray Grigg, the Mayor of Walkerville. Please join me on a journey back to the early days of the village of Walkerville. Meet some of the fascinating individuals and families, the movers and shakers of their generation, who created a lasting legacy across all fields of endeavour. Let's begin at Belt Reserve, here on the corner of Fuller Street and Church Terrace. This reserve was once part of the original garden of a historic homestead named the Almonds, home to the Belt family of Walkerville. The house is still there in Fuller Court, but the rows of almond trees it was named after have long gone. Charles Belt and his family settled in Walkerville in 1851. A respected city lawyer, he also served as a councillor and chairman for the district. When they first moved into the Almonds, Penelope Belt wrote to her mother in England, "We might have awaited and toiled on in England all our lives and never possessed such a place. We have a pretty little church close to our house, which is a great pleasure to me." The church he is referring to is St Andrew's, built and dedicated in 1848. The imposing clock tower has been part of Council's official seal since 1944 and is a well-known local landmark. The little girl in this picture is Charles' only daughter, Penelope, better known as Nellie. Nellie Belt married W.A. Horn, who organised the famous Horn scientific expedition to Central Australia in 1894. The story of the Belt family continues at our next stop, the Memorial Gardens and Reserve on Church Terrace. This octagonal marble pagoda is the Belt Memorial Fountain. This pagoda Nellie Belt gifted to the district of Walkerville in 1927. She wanted the gift to be a tribute to her family, as well as a source of pleasure to children of the neighbourhood. These impressive centenary gates are another feature of these gardens. They were presented in 1937 as a memorial to those who served in World War I and to honour the founders of the village of Walkerville. The original memorial gardens were designed by Charles Reed, the noted town planner famed for his influential design of the garden suburb of Colonel Light Gardens. The first Anzac ceremony was held here in April 1929 by the Walkerville branch of the Returned Soldiers Association. This tradition continues, and every year hundreds of people gather at dawn on the 25th of April for the Anzac service. This is Thiele Reserve. Every day thousands of motorists pass through this busy intersection, hardly noticing the small reserve named after one of the town's longest-serving councillors. Alfred Thiele lived in Gilberton. He became a councillor in 1919 and stepped down in 1957. A remarkable record of continuous service for Walkerville Council. Councillor Thiele was a founding member of what was then known as the East Torrens Destructor Trust. Today, we know it as East Waste, which provides an efficient waste collection service to the town of Walkerville as well as other councils. The Crawford Reserve was once part of a large estate called Holmwood, home to successive generations of the Crawford family. Born in 1859, Robert Crawford was a butcher, a baker, but as far as we know, never a candlestick maker. He had a keen business sense and was not afraid to try new ventures. He achieved great success in the pastoral industry. Robert Crawford and his wife lived at Holmwood in Devonshire Street, Walkerville, and the beautiful mansion was passed down to their son Eric. This family photograph was taken in 1955. In 1891, Charles Webster operated a dairy on Lansdowne Terrace. In those days, people left billy cans on their front doorstep, and every morning fresh milk would be delivered by horse and cart. And I can remember when I was a kid, I used to do that. Charles' son Frank took over the family business. Over time, the billy can was replaced by a glass bottle, and the introduction of supermarkets made the daily milk round by horse and cart a thing of the past. The Webster family were also synonymous with harness racing in this state, and they kept trotting horses in the old cowsheds. Local histories describe Charles and Frank exercising horses up and down the street, stirring up neighbourhood dogs as they trotted by. 5 of Frank Webster's sons became prominent figures in the trotting industry, winning countless trophies and ribbons. This photograph of the stables was taken circa 2000. The Honourable George Charles Hawker, MAMP, was an important figure in the early years of South Australia, both as a politician and a highly successful sheep grazier. George Hawker entered Parliament in 1858 and served for 25 years, twice as Speaker of the House of Assembly. In 1893, he laid the foundation stone for the new Walkerville Hall on Walkerville Terrace. In 1856, George Hawker purchased a house in Medindi, added a second story and created a magnificent residence called the Briars. Their home was the setting for lavish entertainments and gatherings that attracted the leading figures of the day. In 1914, the Briars was converted into a maternity hospital by the Salvation Army, providing care for unmarried women, as well as serving as a general maternity hospital. The McBride Maternity Hospital operated until the 1970s, and many babies were adopted from the hospital. In 1978, it became a convalescent hospital with a small hostel for single mothers and babies. The hostel closed in 1983 and the hospital closed 3 years later. Today, the Briars is once again a private residence. This concludes our journey, but it is only a small chapter in the story of how our village became a town. Our story has been shaped by individuals and families who made their mark across all fields of endeavour. Their stories of adventure and achievement are worth preserving for current and future generations.